Cool. Check, check, 1, 2. No, oh, it's got sound. Come on. Check, check. Oh, no. Check, check. There it is. As we wait for people to join, I'm just checking on the sound and stuff like that. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So today we're going to be talking about how under atheism, humans have no knowledge or moral responsibility. If you do disagree and you're on TikTok, you can join the normal way. If you're not on TikTok, you can go to join.wifigospel.com. You can join as a guest, debate me there. If you want to support the stream, you can go to wifigospel.com and you can do a super chat that way. What happens also when you partner with us is I make videos on Instagram that explain the gospel. And what these videos do is I run ads to these videos. So people get to see the gospel in about 60 seconds, and they're encouraged to message me. Then we have gospel-centered conversations. So any dollar that goes towards the stream, 100 people will get that ad. So it's pretty cool. If you are an atheist or agnostic and you want to debate, go ahead and request up. Around. If you're an atheist or agnostic and you think that your worldview can have knowledge or moral responsibility, go ahead and request up. Let's talk about it. Go ahead and hit that like button. Share it around. I appreciate it. Get some atheists in here. I can see both the TikTok chat and YouTube chat if you guys want to say hi. What do you think of the new background? It's the first night I'm using it. Again, if you're on TikTok, you can request up the normal way. If you're on YouTube, you can go to join.wifigospel.com and join me that way. What's up, Xander? What's up, Billy? Edward, how are you? Go ahead, hit that like button, hit that share button, get some atheists in here, get some debates going. I would appreciate that. Hey, Michael. While we're waiting for some atheists to come up, I am on YouTube as well. If you subscribe on YouTube, I have a notification that'll pop up, shout you out. You can also support the stream at wifigospel.com. For every dollar that the stream gets in support, we run ads to videos that I make on Instagram that explain the gospel to people. Many people hear the gospel for the first time that way, and then they message me on Instagram. We have gospel-centered conversations that way. Do you even know the argument, S? You can come up and we can talk about it if you'd like. If you don't have enough followers to come up on TikTok, you can go to join.wifigospel.com and I'll pull you up through Streamlabs. You said there's nothing to argue. Your argument is laughable at best. Do you know the argument? Thank you for the shears. Appreciate that. We're just waiting to get some atheists in the guest box. You can give some background on your topics while we wait. Yeah. Basically, the argument goes like this. Under atheism, determinism must be true. Since determinism must be true, everything that we think and do is predetermined and not by anything in and of ourselves. If that's the case, how can I be morally responsible for anything? Right? If I'm standing in line at the Grand Canyon, and we're looking over the Grand Canyon, and somebody pushes me, and I fall into somebody, and then they fall off the Grand Canyon, and they fall to their death, am I responsible for that? No, it was out of my control, right? If determinism is true, everything I do is out of my control. So how can I be morally responsible for anything that I do? And then you just take that argument to the next level. If all of my actions are predetermined, all of my beliefs are also predetermined. If all of my beliefs are predetermined, I am not responsible for those beliefs. I didn't choose those beliefs. Those beliefs were given to me. If that's the case, how do I know they're true? I didn't choose them because I evaluated the evidence and picked the one that I thought was true. They were just given to me. So you can't have knowledge, you can't have moral responsibility. Most people bite the bullet on the moral responsibility. For some reason, they're okay with that. But when it comes to knowledge, they don't get it. It doesn't click. Again, while we wait, we have 10 people on TikTok, 6 on YouTube. If you want to come up and talk, you can go to join.wifigospel.com or come up on TikTok. Mining and Survival says, we act ethically because we choose to be good. We don't need threats, you need threats. I don't know if you heard me. You might have missed it. But that's not the argument that I'm making. I'm not talking about objective or subjective morality. What I'm saying is, if determinism is true, and I believe all atheists must be determinists, if determinism is true, you don't choose to be good. Whether or not your actions are good or bad is predetermined. Whether or not you do actions that are good or bad are predetermined. You don't choose those actions. Well, determinism is true. The only way out of it is to be a compatibilist. And compatibilism is just the fact that free will is compatible with determinism. But when you talk about free will as an atheist, you're talking about something that is immaterial. Unless you're talking about something that comes from your mind, and if you think it's material, then it also is predetermined everything that you do. All right, we got somebody. Hey, Structure, how are you?
What's up? How's it going?
Good. Have we talked before? I think we talked once before.
Yeah, not too long ago. You said to come back, speak to you, so I was just passing through. I saw you were live, so came to
Yeah.
talk.
Remind me of our last conversation. It was the same topic, right?
You had another guy on here. Your screen was
Ah,
split too.
yeah. Okay, so you were here with Joel. So we didn't really talk. It was you and Joel. Gotcha.
Correct.
Cool.
I think there's sort of the same topic though.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, his
sounds
was
like
more broad. It was just like, is Christianity true, basically? But
yeah.
you are an atheist or an agnostic. Are you a determinist?
I'm agnostic on that. I don't think I would be a determinist, no.
Why
But
not?
I think uh I I'm not too into physics, but from what I heard that there's some indeterminism reasonably in quantum physics. Like there's three main theories of like the interpretation of superposition and whatnot. Some of them, I think two of them include indeterminism. So I'm not opposed to it. There's also some neurologists who argue for indeterminism.
Okay.
So I'm not against it. I just think it's kind of up in the air. I'm
Yeah,
not.
there are definitely some people who believe that quantum mechanics are either determined or indeterminate. But how does indeterminism change the argument? Do you know the argument? Were you here for that?
No, I didn't hear anything
Gotcha.
really. No.
So if everything is determined or if everything is random, are we responsible for our actions?
If everything is determined, are we responsible?
Yeah, so like
Is that what you're saying?
for example, if we were standing in line at the Grand Canyon, you were behind me and somebody was in front of me, and you pushed me, and I had no control over it. I fell into the person in front of me, and they fell off the cliff into the Grand Canyon and died. Who would be responsible for it, me or you?
The person who pushed
Right,
the person.
because
Yeah.
you would have caused it. It would have been out of my control. So now,
Right.
if determinism is true, then it also would have been out of your control, right?
See, I think that is where I'm getting a little confused because it seems like what you indexed responsibility to initially was what caused the falling, but it seems like indeterminism, there's still a causing of the falling.
Right, but
So,
ultimately, that causes isn't you.
well, it would be if you believe in something like a will. Like, but there's a lot of, I guess most theists think of the will as a causal power, which means you don't have to be a hardline determinist to still believe in responsibility.
Well, yeah, that would be compatibilism. But if things were determined, is what I said. Like I qualified it with that. If determinism is true, then you wouldn't be responsible for it. Like you would have been predetermined by prior states of the universe to push me. If under determinism.
Are you saying, well, I think the mix is where you're saying responsible because determinism is just the view that causes necessitate their effects.
Right. So in
So I
under
don't,
determinism, you would not have been able to not push me.
correct.
Right.
The causes necessitate the pushing necessitated the effect of you falling,
Right.
right? But
And
there's still a question of responsibility there, I think.
determinists would disagree. So, but if you're denying determinism, then it's different. Now, if it was completely random and you had you would still have no control over it. It was indeterminate.
Well, I wouldn't say indeterminate is random, but I think I think there's a mix happening between responsibility and
By
uh,
definition, it would be random. There would be nothing determining the outcome.
well, if by random you just mean that the cause doesn't necessitate the effect, then you're just saying determinism is
No,
determinism.
the cause would still determine the effect, but so like in quantum mechanics, the reason that it's random is because you perform the same experiment, you measure the same thing and you get different outputs.
Is there? Well, are you saying there's a difference in meaning between indeterminate and random? Or are you just saying they're identical in meaning?
No, they're basically the same, yeah.
Okay, well okay then that's not an issue. I thought you were meaning something more when you said random, but if you're just saying it's indeterminate, then I understand what you're saying. But
Gotcha.
I'm I'm more interested in whether or not there's, I guess, like a category issue happening when you say because things are determined there can be no responsibility, and I think you have to explain what you mean by responsibility there because I think I'm not understanding because I think there can.
Okay, how do you think there can be responsibility?
Well, I think responsibility is normative, and I think there's normative notions that don't have to do with being able to do otherwise. Like if we say like the hurricane is horrible, it's evil. Like that's a normative notion that doesn't have to do with the ability to do otherwise. And I think responsibility is also those normative notions. If there's like a causal power and we can point to something as the cause.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. So you're saying if it caused it, it's responsible for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So then would I be responsible in the same way? Back to my first analogy that you would, if you pushed me, would I be responsible?
Um, it depends what you're asking. If by responsible you mean like should I have should I have expected you to do otherwise, then no, because with the knowledge we know you can't do otherwise, then that is obvious. But
And
if by
that,
responsible you mean like can we point back to that cause and that cause be like evil or good, I guess, like in some sense, then I think yeah, you still could.
okay, so that would be a different sense of responsible, right? Moral responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
So if determinism is true, there could be responsibility in the fact that things cause other things to happen, but there wouldn't be any moral responsibility.
I think well, again, I don't want to be pedantic, but I feel like it depends what you mean because I think you could still say that was evil, and that would be a sense of moral responsibility,
Okay.
and that's not identical with just saying that was the cause. I think.
Well, would it be evil in my first analogy of me falling into somebody because I was pushed? Would I have committed something evil?
No, because that wasn't caused by the will, right? I think is what
Right.
people would say. So,
So under
so if it's
determinism, there is
something
no will.
that, well, I again, I
You
don't,
you would
I'm
be
not,
you would be talking about compatibilism.
I don't see the issue with there being a will under determinism or a will being determined. Like, for example, uh, overwhelmingly, like, let me just give you a broad tradition. Like the Thomistic tradition says that the will is caused by God. So, in a certain sense, the will is determined by God's decree. So, but they still believe that the will
Yeah, that's
is
compatibilism.
responsible.
That's not determinism. That's compatibilism.
Well, the will isn't completely indeterminate there.
Yeah, free will
That's my
is
point.
compatible with determinism. That's compatibilism. You either have compatibilism or incompatibilism. It's a subcategory of determinism.
Well, when I say determinism, I'm just saying the causes necessitate the effects, is what I'm saying, right?
Right.
So
Everything
all
back
the
into
causes,
the start of the universe.
right? And so what I'm saying is that I don't see an issue between saying causes necessitate their effects all the way down, and then there's a causal power of a will that's necessitating some effect, and then that will is indexed to some like normative notion, like evil or goodness.
Yeah, but if that will has absolutely no control over itself, then it can't be held morally responsible for anything.
Well, that I think that's just begging the question. That's just embedding your view that in order to have moral responsibility, you need to be able to do otherwise.
Well, that's by like we don't hold people morally responsible for things that they have no control over.
Mm, I disagree. I think like you can. That's why you have like.
So would you lock me up for in that first analogy?
Well, locking you up is different than saying that something is morally irresponsible, right?
Or
That's like
would
that's like
you
a degree of moral irresponsibility
would you
to the
punish
point where I'll
somebody?
lock you.
All right, should we punish people who hurt children for fun?
But notice whether or not we should or shouldn't, whether my view is that we should or shouldn't has no there's no issue there with whether or not the view still compatible. Imagine a world right now where everything is determined and we still do punish people because we have this like fictional sense of otherwiseness or whatever.
It would be
And that's
inconsistent.
Well, it wouldn't
It would be like punishing
if
me in that scenario that I gave.
no, I think you can index goodness and badness to different causes, even if they are determined. Like, for example, like a human will has a greater sense of normativity to it than a rock, even though both necessitate their facts,
Can rocks do
presumably.
evil things?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say right now is that
You think rocks can do
depending,
evil things?
well, I'm trying to explain my view.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm saying depending on the type of cause, like you can say this rock rolled down the hill and like unalive 10 people, and you're not gonna blame the rock
Why
depending on
not?
the type of cause. Depending on the type of cause.
Are we going to hold the rock morally responsible?
Well, under your view, holding it morally responsible means that it can do otherwise. So you
Well,
wouldn't.
it
But
has no will.
well, that's exactly my point, right? If it has a will, then it seems like there's going to be more moral responsibility put on it than not.
Well, you can't hold anything morally responsible that either doesn't have a will or has no control over their will.
But that's
Which
because
it
under your
doesn't
view,
sound
moral
like you hold to
responsibility.
determinism. But I don't understand why you can't admit that determinism equals no moral responsibility. If you don't
Well,
hold to
that's because
determinism,
you're defining moral responsibility as
e-
the ability to do otherwise.
every philosopher and scientist who has any sort of platform who believes in determinism does not believe in moral responsibility.
That's not true.
That's
For example, there are philosophers who believe in moral responsibility. Now, when you say moral responsibility, we're not using your sense of the term, meaning the ability to do otherwise, but we're saying a normative notion, a shouldness attached to it. In and men, I think the majority view there is that they are trying to prevent future occurrences.
applying, yeah, but that's not holding somebody morally responsible for something.
But that's because under your view, holding them morally
No, that would
responsible
just
means
be like
otherwise.
quarantining somebody who's sick. They're not morally responsible for their sickness. You
Look
just
at let me. So under your view, what does that mean if saying they're not morally responsible? What does morally responsible mean there?
like you should have done something. You did not do that thing, and you had control over that.
Right. So embedded in your idea of moral responsibility is the ability to do otherwise, which is why, under your view,
So is
that
yours. You said you wouldn't hold me morally responsible for falling into somebody by accident
no, I'm saying
or
no,
being pushed by somebody
I'm
else.
no, I'm saying under your view, when you say someone's morally responsible, embedded in it is the ability to do otherwise, meaning if something doesn't have the ability to do otherwise, then it's not morally responsible. So that's just embedded in your definition of moral responsibility. What I'm saying is there are different types of moral like being senses of being morally responsible. Like there's your sense, and then there's a sense of like a normative sense, which has nothing to do with the ability to do otherwise, which is a view.
All right,
It's
so
not
you're
like
saying
something.
that in a normative sense, it is true that we should not harm children for fun, right? You're
That
saying
we
that
should
can be
not.
true under determinism.
Well, I don't know what you mean if you're not saying that what I just said.
Well,
I thought you were
normative
saying
means what you should and shouldn't do, right?
no.
Okay, what do you mean by normative? Because that's
Let me
how
give
I
let me
understand
give an
normative.
example. Let me give you an example. Like it's hard to define normativity, but for example, something that's normative is that hurricane was horrible. That's an example of a normative statement. I guess a normative statement.
No, that's a moral statement.
No.
Normative ethics is the branch of moral philosophy concerned with criteria of what is morally right and wrong.
Right. Normativity, generally speaking, like for example, there's a question of like epistemic normativity. There's a question of normativity in theology, which just has to do with goodness and badness, generally speaking. Like when we say God is good, that's a normative statement. But like the Thomists don't think that's an ought statement. So there are non-normative, there are normative statements that aren't ought claims, which I agree with. I think generally it has
What
something
does
to do
that
with the
have to do
value
with
of it.
determinism?
Because
What's
my
the
point
difference?
is that we can say responsibility is a normative notion that wouldn't have to do with the ability to do otherwise, which I guess in your view is just moral decisions, I guess. But my point is that when we say, like, imagine determinism is true, and I tell you you shouldn't blah blah blah, I guess that translates to something like, if you do that, that will cause this, and that will my whatever caused me to say that will hopefully cause you to do something to prevent future actions, and that's the sense of normativity
Yeah,
of evil and bad.
that's fine, but that's not moral responsibility. It's the same
Well, that's
thing as
because you just defined it.
quarantining. No, it's the same thing as quarantining somebody who's sick. You don't hold them morally responsible for being sick, but you do something to them to prevent them from doing something else that harms society, like getting other people sick.
Well, I hope you would agree there's a difference between me trying to prevent someone or trying to prevent a population from getting sick and me saying it's a bad thing for the population to get sick, right?
Yeah, that's fine, but it has nothing to do with the argument.
Right. So if someone gets the person sick, if someone does get the person sick, then that distinction still applies, right? We say they got them sick is a different statement than saying it's bad that they got them sick, right?
Okay.
Right. Under your view, that means it's bad that they got them sick means they shouldn't have got them sick. Meaning, and under your view, that means they had the ability to do
It
otherwise.
wouldn't be bad in a moral sense. It might be bad in a different sense, but not morally.
Well, I'm talking about just everyday language here. You don't have to focus so much on whether it's moral bad. I'm saying using.
If I say ice cream tastes bad, am I saying something moral?
Are you? Well, under your view, no, you're not. Wait,
Under
how you just define
anybody's view.
moral? Well, I'm speaking to you
It's
about
not moral
how you
language.
define that. Ice cream example would be a stretch of how moral language is
It's in a
used.
similar sense of the same way that I'm saying that getting somebody else sick is bad. It's not a moral thing to get somebody else sick unless you stick them with a needle that has some virus in it and you're trying to get them sick for other reasons.
Okay, if a person intentionally got someone sick, is that bad?
Yeah, if their intention was to get them sick for bad reasons, yes. Like you could.
Okay, now let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Okay, if they had assuming causes entail effects, and the cause was that they intended to get them sick, is that bad?
That's not a cause. Intentions and causes are different.
Well, the will is a causal
power. An intention can't
right?
cause something. I can intend to do you harm and not do you harm. Then the intention and the cause is separate.
I know. What I'm saying is that the person has a causal power of a will that actualizes whatever their intention.
That's compatibilism. That's not determinism. So back to my original argument.
Well, I'm explaining at the beginning that determinism is just the view that causes entail their effects, right? And compatibilism is just the view that free will is compatible with
just that. Determinism is that everything has a prior cause and everything is predetermined.
Well, you're using the definition and the word in its own definition. That's not determinism is just that
it's a philosophical view. It's not a word that I'm defining.
I know. I'm familiar with determinism. It's the view that causes
all events in the universe are caused by preceding events or natural laws and are therefore inevitable.
Go to the SCP.
Britannica. What, Stanford?
Yeah, it's the view that causes necessitate their effects, that they entail their effects. And compatibilism is just a view that causes necessitating their.
Every event is necessitated by antecedent events and conditions together with the laws of nature.
There you go.
But every event.
That's what I said. Causes
Okay.
necessitate their effects.
So if
That means all.
every
That's
event is caused by prior events, you have no control over the things you do. How can somebody be morally responsible?
but by control, you're embedding your definition of what a
Okay.
moral
All
decision
right.
is, which is
Let me
the
let me
ability
so
to do
let me
otherwise.
ask you this. In my original example, when you push me into somebody else, why am I not morally responsible for that? Under your view.
Because the will wasn't the cause.
Okay. Now, if I why are you responsible?
Under what example?
Under the example I just gave.
Well, the example you gave was where someone pushed another person,
Yeah,
right?
you were the person, sorry. Why are
So
you
I pushed.
responsible? You pushed me.
I intentionally pushed another person.
Yeah, you pushed me into somebody else with the intention of that other person falling.
Well, I'm responsible because I had the
Okay.
willful
And
intention to
and
push
what
them.
caused your will to will that into action?
Antecedent causes
All right. That are out of your control, right?
out of my control, meaning
You had no
they're
control.
necessitated.
You willed it because you were predetermined to will it.
Right. Prior
Okay.
causes necessitated the effects.
Then we're both equally responsible in that situation. So either
But notice how
we're
you
both
add
morally
that there.
responsible for it, or we're both not morally responsible for it under determinism. If you want to invoke compatibilism, I would just ask you how.
No, but where did you draw therefore? Here, how about this? The will is caused by prior effects, therefore there's no responsibility. Where did you draw that inference from?
In the same way that it follows that if I'm not responsible, then even if
No,
I
that's the
will it,
conclusion. That's the
even
conclusion.
that conclusion of the of
The conclusion is nobody's responsible. That's not what
no,
it follows from. Because you said prior causes, the will is necessitated by prior causes, therefore there's no responsibility. So no responsibility is your conclusion. I'm
yeah,
asking, how did you get there from
because
that inference? Like,
because I didn't ultimately I'm not the one who caused it. That's why I'm not responsible.
but when you say
You're
ultimately, are you saying you're just saying there's prior causes,
Yeah,
but
you were the
that
prior cause, right? In that situation.
I know, but that's just the definition of
Wait,
determinism, that
you
there's
were the prior
effects
cause,
necessitating
right?
the prior cause. Hmm?
You were the prior cause.
Yeah.
And something else caused you to do that.
Right.
Right. You didn't make a choice to do that.
Well, by choice you mean I didn't have the ability to do otherwise?
Under determinism, why did you push me?
Well, because I had
Because of
the
prior
intent to
states of
push
the
you
universe.
in a
And
will.
why did you have that intent? And why did you will it? Because of prior states of the universe. So the
Why did
prior
you
states of
intend?
the universe are responsible for you pushing me.
Where did you get that from?
Well,
Responsible for pushing
determinism.
me?
It They
No,
caused you
no,
to do
there's
so.
no, but okay, there's a different you understand the different there's a difference there between saying there are prior causes and then saying those prior causes are responsible for me, for my will. You see the difference? For
No.
example, look at okay, well, if there is no difference, then what you're saying is just it's redundant. The conclusion isn't a conclusion. It's because one of your premises is in your conclusion. That's a question begging argument.
No.
If it's just the case that yeah, because if it's just the case that you're saying under determinism, uh, causes necessitate their effects, and you're saying therefore there's no responsibility because what responsibility is the ability to do otherwise, then you're saying there's no responsibility because it's determinism. But that was in one of your premises, which is determinism is when you have causes entailing their effects. So your conclusion, your premise is in your conclusion, which is a question begging argument.
No. That does not follow. If it, this
It
this this
does.
conversation is on YouTube, it'll be recorded because TikTok doesn't record it, but it'll be on YouTube. I go back and listen to it, and I've made the same argument through and through, and I don't understand how you're not getting it. Literally, like the only way out of this is saying determinism isn't true.
No, look what I'm trying to tell you. You're saying, imagine we set your argument out in a formal syllogism, and we are just defining your terms, and you say free will is the ability to do otherwise. Determinism is causes necessitating their effects. If determinism is causes necessitating their effects, then if P then Q, then determinism is incompatible with the ability to do otherwise. Now, this doesn't include responsibility. Now you're saying premise one. Let's set up the actual argument aside from the definitions, right?
I'll do one better for you. I'll give you the actual argument in a syllogism. All right.
Yep.
If determinism is true, all actions are the result of prior causes outside an individual's control. Premise 2. Moral responsibility requires that an individual has control over their actions. Conclusion. Therefore, if determinism is true, moral responsibility is negated.
You say, well, I think your second premise is a third premise, but that...
How is that a third premise?
Because you're saying if determinism is true, then, and then the second premise has to be an affirmation of the...
It's two premises and a conclusion. If both of the premises are true, the conclusion follows. But it's not modus ponens.
What inference rule is that?
What do you mean?
Well, modus ponens is one inference rule.
Would it be?
I'm saying you said modus ponens is structured at an if-then statement. You're saying if
it's modus tollens.
Well, modus tollens. That's. Can you repeat? I don't think that's modus. You're saying
Q and Q, then P.
So you're saying if determinism.
So, yeah, if determinism is true, then individuals do not have control over their actions. Moral responsibility requires individuals to have control over their actions. If moral responsibility is negated, then determinism undermines moral.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what's the defense of the first premise?
That's literally what determinism is.
No, because that's the distinction.
If determinism is true, all actions are the result of prior causes outside an individual's control. You disagree with that?
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that there's a sense in which the term responsibility could still be used in a deterministic worldview, is my point. My point is that...
But then if you use that definition of responsibility, then we are both equally responsible, morally speaking, in that situation.
I know, but look, notice this is where I'm trying to focus on, where you say, then we are both equally responsible. Now you're using a sense where there's a set of causes and you're indexing some normative notion of responsibility, and you're saying we're both equally, normative statement, responsible in this sense. And that's where I'm trying to press, where to me you are using two senses.
You're trying to use responsible and cause in the same way, right?
No. That's what you're doing. That's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm doing. What you're saying is that there are a set of prior causes, right? And I'm saying, okay, I'm not using cause and responsibility in the same sense because, as I said before, responsibility is a normative notion. So we can't just say, well, there's a cause, therefore it's responsible, or else we're just being redundant. Okay. But what I'm saying is, where you're drawing, therefore it's responsible because there are prior causes. I'm asking, where did you get that from?
No, I'm saying if you're under determinism, you're not responsible.
No, I know. So there's no responsibility. But what you said before,
under determinism, there's no responsibility. That's been my argument the entire time.
I'm well aware. But my point is that you said, therefore, all causes are equally responsible. You said that.
Under determinism.
Right. Under determinism.
Yes.
Right. So my point is that you're not using responsibility there to just describe causes. That's a normative notion. So what you're saying then is you're saying because there are an infinite set of prior events or whatever leading up to the Big Bang, and we can trace it all the way back to the Big Bang. Every single cause you can point to, and this is where you implement your normative notion, is that they're all equally responsible. And I'm asking, where did you get that from? Where did you draw that conclusion that they're all equally responsible?
So the first cause would be equally responsible. Call it the Big Bang if you want.
And remember, when we're using the term responsible here, we're not just saying it's a cause or it's a first cause, right? It's a
Ultimately,
normative
the
notion.
Big Bang caused you to push me under determinism.
And when you say ultimately, now you're just saying there's a first cause, which is a Big
Right.
Bang. That's not the same sense when you're using the word responsibility, because
Moral
responsibility is a normative
responsibility.
notion.
No, I don't
Remember,
think we're
now you're
going in
equivocating.
complete circles here. I would just go back and watch it. I'm gonna do a debate with this with Amdir. You know Amdir?
Amdir?
Amdir, sorry. Amdir. You
Probably
know
gonna
him.
tell you the same thing.
Okay. No, he actually he made a response video to what's the guy's name? He's a Christian creator. He does live streams, and he invokes compatibilism to get out of to get out of this argument. Because you have to.
Well,
Under determinism, the argument follows.
well, when you say under determinism, you know compatibilism, like you said earlier, it's under determinism.
Yeah, but it invokes free will, and it says free will is compatible with determinism.
I know, but they're not using the sense of free will that you have in mind.
Right.
Right, which aligns with my view, not yours. Which means that under my view, you don't need the ability to do otherwise to have moral responsibility.
We weren't talking about your view. I told you from the
No, we
beginning,
were.
if you don't hold determinism, do you hold to determinism?
I told you I'm agnostic on whether determinism
Okay,
is
so
true,
we weren't talking about your view then, were we? We were talking about
I'm
determinism.
talking about what I'm saying right now.
Get out of here. Jeez, dude. That was tough to deal with. Ooh. If anybody else wants to come up, the guest box is open. Skeptical, come up, dog. Just because you don't understand determinism doesn't mean my argument doesn't follow. But I'm going to do a debate with Amdir about this on Coco's channel, I believe early January. You should watch it, Structure. If you're on YouTube and you want to hop in the guest box, go to join.wifigospel.com. Skeptical. If you want to come up and talk about it, you can come up on here or go to join.wifigospel.com and you can explain. Gladly, I'll have you up. Stream is a little slow tonight. We usually have 30 or 40 people in here by now. Hey, Quietism.
Hi, you mind if I ask you a question about your background?
Sure.
When you say under atheism, what do you take atheism to be?
So atheism or agnosticism, they're both similar worldviews where some people think that atheism is a lack of belief. I'm fine with that definition. But people like Graham Oppie would argue that that's not really the definition of atheism, and that atheism is the strong view that there is no God. But I'm okay with either one.
Me as well. I mean, that's just a soft, strong distinction. I don't think atheism is a worldview, though. When you say worldview, usually you're talking about some conjunction between like an ontology, an epistemology, and an ethics system, and an atheism doesn't entail any of those.
Well, it describes a type of worldview. Like, for example,
No.
you can't have an atheist, you can't describe your worldview as atheistic if you believe in God, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the only thing that's entailed, but I wouldn't say I'd call my worldview atheistic if I was a moral realist.
Is my worldview theistic?
No, I don't think that's coherent either.
Okay.
I'd say, like, if you said, well, I'm a divine command theorist, substance monist, that
Atheist.
has,
That
pardon?
would, if I said I was a divine command theorist and an atheist, that wouldn't follow, right?
Yeah, of course, there is, like, atheism excludes particular views, but or
And I
atheism
think it
doesn't
also
guarantee more
entails
realism.
particular views.
Sorry?
I think it also entails particular views.
So you think, well, we'll go strong atheism if you're okay with that. So
Okay.
the affirmation of the proposition God does not exist.
Hold on one
What
second.
does that entail?
Skeptical. I don't know why you're here if you don't think I'm capable, so have a good one, brother. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, why do you think the affirmation or the propositional attitude towards God does not exist entails some ontology, ethics, or moral system?
Because the same way you get to God doesn't exist is the same way you get to no free will.
I don't know how that answers my question. There's atheists that don't believe in free will. There's atheists that are determinists. There's atheists that are libertarians.
Yeah, and I would say it's inconsistent with their worldview.
But
Which
okay,
is
when I say,
why they
just so we're
entail-
clear, when I say worldview, I might be like when I say Thomism, that's a view, right? Because it includes ontology, causality, epistemology, ethics. That's a total system. When I say theism, I'm just referring to the affirmation of a particular proposition. But I don't know if the theist is holds a particular view on morality or like any of those other things. So when I say worldview, I'm talking about the big three. When I say theism, I'm just talking about one single proposition.
Okay. I think that one single proposition has entailments.
Okay, from what? Maybe we can display them, like the set of inferences that lead to this.
All right, so if there is no God, for example, if there is no God, morality cannot be objective.
No, I don't see how that follows at all.
Okay. Could you provide an objective morality without God?
Yeah, relaxed realism, robust realism, non-naturalistic realism, naturalistic realism. There's plenty of them.
Can you prove one of them? Do you hold any of those?
No,
Okay.
you just asked for an example. I gave you 4.
Can you prove any of them?
No, because I think moral realism is incoherent.
Okay.
But I'm confused.
there's
You asked
no
me,
proof
can
for
you give
something
me
you
any
shouldn't
system
believe
of
in,
moral
right?
realism that would like be requiring or prerequisitive of God? I gave you 4 that don't require that.
Well, could
And
you
they
make
just
the
say
argument
that-
then for that?
Argument for what?
That they don't require God?
Yeah, so we'll take relaxed realism and their propositional commitments. 1, they think moral judgments are beliefs. 2, some of these moral beliefs are true and false.
Okay, so
These more,
oh, sorry, continue.
sorry, there's just 2 more. These moral beliefs are irreducibly normative, meaning they're not metaphysically robust. And then these moral propositions are not made true by any other metaphysical property. None of those entail any being.
Okay, and how would a person with that view know if something is right or wrong?
Well, okay, so their epistemology might be like of a functionalist account, right? But when you say right or wrong, that's a normative concept, not a metaethical one.
Okay, so you said there's a value though. There's like a moral fact, right?
No, I said there's moral judgments.
Okay, so those moral judgments are either true or false, is what I heard you say.
Yep, these moral judgments are beliefs, and some beliefs are true or false.
Beliefs.
Yes, moral judgments are beliefs. Yeah, so that's gonna like rule out non-cognitivism.
All right, so how would someone, when someone under that view makes a moral judgment, how do they know if their moral judgment is true or false?
Yeah, there's a perfect example. Like Derek Parfit is a phenomenal conservativist. It takes like his intellectual seemings to give you some justificatory means for his beliefs, and these beliefs might be normative in that sense. Like, are you familiar with phenomenal conservatism and that idea?
No.
No. Oh, well, it's just a view perpetuated by Michael Huemer, talking about how seemings can give you some,
I've heard that word before. Could you define that for me, seemings?
Yeah, there's qualitative and non-qualitative seeming. So qualitative seeming might be your sense data, non-qualitative might be your intuitions.
Okay, so how do intuitions get you to moral objectivity?
They don't. They give you some justificatory means in saying, I know X.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, do you have an argument for that?
Yeah, you can. If I just say that is me intuiting God a justificatory path to that belief?
Absent any counter prevailing reasons or defeaters, yes.
Okay, so I believe in God and it's justified.
Yeah. But then you'd have to purport,
Then I have a
like, I'd
justified
have to
true
give
belief.
you an argument for your belief in God, right? But the question you asked me
I'm asking
was,
the same
do these
thing about
people know
morality.
these moral objectives? Not, do they have some sort of JTB about this moral objectives? So I think that provides a system in which they can believe these things exist. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how that gets you moral objectivity.
No, because like, relaxed realism is just positing that there are these moral propositions. These propositions are beliefs. Some of them are true or false, but they're not made true by something like, you might be familiar with robust realism, where somebody says that X proposition is true in virtue of some objective property that Y holds. So X is true in virtue of Y. But that's not what relaxed realism is saying. So they're just saying that X is true, but there's nothing that makes it true in virtue of like Tarxis' schema of truth, like his analytic method of determining when something is true or false using just schematic variables. So that's the general idea there. It's not saying like, because it's objective, it's a part of moral realism because it's independent of mind. This isn't posited in some deity's mind or some being. I don't even think like we're using that word properly, just to be clear.
So there are moral facts, but we can't know them. Is that
No, that's not what I've said at all. I said there are moral facts, and you can be justified in knowing them.
how?
But when I say something is good or bad, that's not a norm. That's not a meta-ethical question. It's a
Right,
normative
but
question.
how do we know that a moral fact is a moral fact under this view?
Because there are propositions that which pertain to normativity.
That's just an assertion.
Oh, so you don't think there's moral facts that pertain to normativity?
Well, I want to know how there are moral facts in the first place.
Okay,
Under
maybe
this
we'll
view.
delve into like the epistemology. You seem interested in that. What is like your epistemological system? Maybe I can help like bridge the gap here.
Well, I believe in revelational epistemology.
Okay, so like some sort of foundational empiricist account.
Maybe I don't know those terms very well.
Okay, empiricism is the belief that your sense data is reliable to conveying some justification for true beliefs. Belief is a propositional attitude. Truth could be correspondence theory. So you're saying, how do I want to say this? God reveals particular information, and you understood this information through general and special revelation. So general would be like aestheticism, special would be through scripture, but you're interpreting these things through your senses, which is like a critique of RE over empiricism. But I guess these people, just to like compare it, let's say these moral facts are prescriptive in the same way God is prescriptive, given they're independent of mind.
How does that connect? I want to stick with morality here. How?
Okay, so you don't want to ask me how they know these things anymore?
No, that's exactly like, all right. If
I just gave you how they know them.
something is true or false, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would have to know that in order to make that statement.
No, metanormative justification isn't needed. That's what's confused here.
No, all right. Do you know, under this view, do they know that there are moral facts?
Yep.
Okay, how?
Inductively. They say that there is normativity occurring in this ontology, right? If I do X to you,
It's just an assertion.
X. Wait, what are you asking me for? Like an epistemic account on how they can like induce these things, or are you asking me for why these things exist?
If there's no way to know if something is true or false, even in morality, then you can't say it's objective.
Well, that's not true at all. It could be true
Okay.
or false. You just don't have to know it. You just have to posit it exists.
I don't
Right, like
agree.
non-naturalistic realists don't say that these moral propositions are bivalent. Non-cognitivists don't say these moral propositions are bivalent. They don't, like, that's not included in the view.
Okay. I appreciate like talking about all these other views, but what is your view on the matter?
A morality?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a non-cog. Particularly, I'm an emotivist.
Okay, so there are no moral facts.
Yeah, I don't think moral statements are propositions at all.
So then there's no moral responsibility either.
I don't think there's obligations because they're not propositional, no.
Cool.
Do you take some sort of moral theory?
I do, but the topic is under atheism. We have no moral responsibility. So I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Okay. You know I'm a theist, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it seems like this prompt is a little bit poor taste considering I'm a theist and
So
don't
why'd you
take
come up
more
with
responsibility. No, because why did I come up? Because I don't think that this prompt is like at all true or it follows. I wanted to see
Okay.
your view.
Cool. I appreciate the conversation, but I'm just looking for atheists.
Okay, so when I give you a theist that doesn't take moral responsibility to be true, you just say like, "Oh, it's a one-off."
What do you mean?
No, I'm a theist. I believe in
Okay.
God.
Okay. Are you like
I
a
don't take
deist?
moral
Or
facts to be
are you a Christian,
propositionals.
a Muslim?
No, I'm an open theist. I posit a God that is omnipotent and omnipresent, but not omnibenevolent.
Okay, and he just doesn't interact with us at all.
No, he absolutely does.
Okay. So how? So he doesn't care what we do?
He's not like all good, so I don't know if he would care. It might like service values.
He's not all good according to you.
Yeah, that's my belief. You're asking about my
Okay.
belief, not yours. I'd
No,
imagine.
no,
like,
I'm just saying, like, in your belief, like, because you don't believe in moral realism, he's not good based on your own standards.
even if I was a moral realist, his goodness
And what are
would
you
be
judging him on? Just creation and the state of the world?
I don't. When I say judge him, are you asking me if I agree with his actions?
You said he's not all good.
Yeah,
Okay, so he's bad in some sense.
absolutely.
Okay, so you're making those judgments based on what? Your own set of beliefs about morality.
No, I don't take beliefs to be or moral propositions to be beliefs. I take them to be non-cognitive emotional responses. So when I say X is good
So when you
or
say
God's action is
bad-
good,
Continue. You're going where I want you to. Go ahead.
when I say X action is good, I'm just saying I have a positive emotional response to it, and I don't control nor
Okay.
have any sort of
So
influence over that.
Yeah, so it's okay. That's fine. I think that's. I don't even understand why you would be a theist then.
Because I have arguments for God.
Okay.
Why
I
else
mean,
would you be a theist?
God he doesn't care about you. He has
Nope.
nothing to do with you.
That's not true. No, he does
can-
like influence life.
Okay, but like you know absolutely nothing about him other than maybe not even some of his attributes other than what you can deduce from creation. He hasn't actually interacted in history with anybody.
No, he absolutely has. In the same way
Who?
your God does.
No, my God has spoken to people through prophets and through scripture.
Well, how do you know that's your God over mine?
Oh, wait. So then your God would be the Christian God? So you're a Christian.
No, I'm saying he's not omnibenevolent. That's the main like distinction between you
Okay,
and
so
me.
that's how I know it's not my God then.
You know it's not your
I
God
know it's not
talking to
my
these
God.
prophets.
No, I know
I'm
that
confused.
if my God is true, then it's not your God because your God and my God are different.
Yeah, I didn't ask you if your God was true. I asked you how do you know that the person speaking to these prophets is your God?
Right, and this would be I actually do a live where I talk about this, but it would just be under
never mind
revelational
then.
epistemology. But I didn't want to just like start running tag on you because that's not what this live is for. Not that I didn't, you know what I mean? Like I'm talking about really determinism, but
Oh, I am a
that's why-
determinist. So we can talk about that if you want.
okay. Well, I mean, with moral responsibility, you would give that up anyway. But if you're a determinist, then your beliefs are you didn't choose your beliefs, right?
Yeah, I'm not a doxastic voluntarist. Yep.
Okay, so if you didn't choose your belief, then how do you know any of them are true?
Because because logic just being the study of inferences is applicable to things that I don't choose. Right? We do that with like God's nature all the time.
Yeah, that's right. But when you make the conclusion about about your beliefs, whether they're true or not, isn't that conclusion also determined?
Is the set of inferences that makes the belief true determined?
No, like, all right, so when you, right now, if you were to look back at your beliefs and say, okay, is this belief true? You would come up with an answer of yes or no. That answer of yes or no is determined.
Sure.
Okay. So then you can't
Doesn't
know
mean
anything
it's
to be
true though. I could
No,
have
you-
like a
you can't know
false
it.
realization.
You don't choose it because you think it's true.
Yeah, I don't choose my beliefs. Yeah, that's like I already
You
agree.
can't know if it's true then.
Well, that doesn't follow. This just means its truth value is determined, and so is
No,
my reasoning.
But when you, all right, yes, exactly. So if your reasoning is determined, you didn't actually reason about it. You didn't choose between two things. You're just believing something based on prior states of the universe.
Yeah, because I don't think choice exists. I'm confused to what the critique here is.
So in the same way, now it's tough because you don't believe in moral realism. But if you did, let's say you did believe in moral realism, there would still be no moral responsibility under determinism, right?
Yeah, under determinism, moral realism wouldn't entail no moral responsibility. So sure.
Right. So I'm trying to make the same argument when it comes to your beliefs. In the same way that you're not morally responsible for your actions, you wouldn't be, maybe, I don't know if epistemically responsible would be a right word.
I wouldn't be responsible for my beliefs, no.
Yeah. So you would not be able to know if they were true or not, because you're also not responsible for your evaluations of your beliefs.
Well, when you talk about responsibility, you're usually talking about some, like, deontic action, not talking about, like, belief states, but applicable to belief states, or mental states more particularly, or propositional attitudes, whatever you want to call them. My propositional attitude has nothing to do whether the proposition is true or false. Like, I couldn't care less if I think X action is good and Tim thinks X action is bad. Our opinions don't make it true or false.
Okay, and in the same way, your opinions and your beliefs don't make something true or false, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think just because I believe X proposition is true, therefore it's true.
Right, and just, like, there's no way under determinism to know if something is true or not, because you're not actually reasoning about it.
Well, they can be, like, they can hold some, like, epistemic account of JTB.
True, but you wouldn't know it.
No, they absolutely could know it. I'm confused. Like, when you say knowledge, what do you mean there? Because they just referred to some,
you can use
like, hinge epistemology.
Yeah, you can use any definition of knowledge because they all purport to something that is true, right?
Okay, so let's take some JTB foundationalist who's also determinist. How would they not have a qualitative account of knowledge there?
Under determinism?
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have chosen any of their beliefs. So when you ask
But
them,
their beliefs has not, like, are you familiar with foundationalism? Because that has nothing to do with beliefs and everything to do with qualia.
No, go ahead, explain.
So they just say that I know X proposition is true. So we'll say, I believe X is true because of Y. And Y could be a reason. And that reason could have emerged from some experience. Now that reason is inferential and propositional, meaning it could be true or false. But that experience that they had that gave rise to this reason is not propositional, because it wouldn't make sense to say, just logically, given some, like, T schema there, that running is true, right? It's not conjunctive of a subject or predicate or quantifier. So that wouldn't make any propositional attitude sense. So they just say that I know X because of Y experience, and it's going to be grounded in that. And to ask, well, how do you know X experience is true, is to, like, perform a category error, given experience isn't the type of thing that can be true.
So if it's not the type of thing that can be true, I don't see how experience relates to truth at all.
Because maybe a performative example is a good idea here. If you say, I know my wife is in the kitchen because I can see my wife in the kitchen, and then somebody asks, well, how do you know your wife is in the kitchen? You just say, well, it's my sense data. Well, how do you know your sense data is true? That's not, like, a reasonable question. What you might want to ask is, how do you know your sense data is reliable?
Okay. Yeah, because I wouldn't say that was knowledge.
Well, you might not know, right? I don't know what you're a revelational epistemologist. So you would say, if somebody, like, critiques you and says, how do you know the scripture you're reading is actual scripture? You just say it's revealed in the same way that they'd appeal to their axioms.
Not in the same way, but I don't want to get caught up on that. I'm saying in any epistemology, it wouldn't be knowledge based on sense data.
Wait, that's, like, the entire idea of empiricism.
Right, but that's why empiricism is self-refuting.
Well, how is it self-defeating?
Because they're relying on something that's not reliable.
They don't care if it's reliable. That's reliabilism. I'm talking about empiricism.
Yeah, so, like, if you're talking about empiricism, you say, I know something is true based on my sense data.
Yeah.
Right? But your sense data can give you false beliefs about the world. So you could, in a sense, know something that's false, which would be self-refuting.
Well, that's just like a Humean critique. So you just take, like, Pyrrho's response and say, well...
What's Pyrrho's response? I haven't heard of that.
No, sorry, not Pyrrho. Parmenides' response in saying that, well, ex qualia isn't conducive to any sort of guaranteed means given some account of causality. Like, if you take Hume's like inductive problem, the famous problem, and like
Right.
concede to it. Say, sure, just because Y happens after X doesn't guarantee causality is there, or you're not observing it. Well, then you can just throw out this whole idea of it being reliable given no account of causality, such that, well, you don't know Y from X, but I'm pretty sure we granted earlier in this conversation a deterministic world, meaning you could deduce Y from X given some causality account. So I'm not sure if this objection would work if it's a deterministic world. It might actually work better.
That's an interesting thought to think how induction relates in a deterministic world.
'Cause you have determinists that relate to causality, and then you have non-causal determinists like me. I don't relate. Like, I'm not a necessitarian or Spinozan who says that there is some necessary primordial first mover and everything from that is in virtue necessary. That's just nonsense to me. Mine is more of like a persons and reasons account. Like when you flip a coin at a football game, right? If you knew every physical factor, wind, friction between your finger and the coin's mass, if you know every like universal factor, you'd be able to calculate exactly what that coin would land on, but it's seemingly random. In the same way your mental states are seemingly random, but it can eventually be, you can ask like a child, well, why? And you'd eventually either get to A, it's just random and by definition undetermined, and therefore you have no control over it, or it's B, external. So maybe I came on this live because somebody else sent me this live and said, you should join this, which is a reason external to me that I have no control over. So I don't have control over any of this.
So how is that not causal?
How is the reasons not causal?
Yeah, because you said it's
Because
you're
I'm
a
not positing that this. Because I'm
I'm
not
just trying to
positing these
understand. I'm
reasons
not
hold
pressing you on
ontology.
it.
No,
Is
it's
that
fine. I just don't think that these things are necessary. I wouldn't use that like modal talk. It could
you
be contingent
didn't
that my
have to.
friend sent it to me.
Okay,
Hmm?
so you didn't have to join the live because your friend sent it to you.
No, it's just influence. Mine's not like a
But
modal deduction. It's more of a
but
like
was
plausible induction.
what about your friend sending you this live? Was that necessary?
I don't know. It could be. It could not be.
If it was, wouldn't that make you joining it necessary or no?
Uh, well, I certainly don't think so. But probably if you like posit that strong of a claim, yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It could be properly basic for all I care.
Because in the sense of like, as I'm studying determinism, when compatibilism comes up and they start defining, you change the definition of free will to make it compatible with determinism. That's kind of the same sense, right? Where it's like if it's internally willed, then it's free. But then the argument against that is, well, what causes the internal will?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's ideas with that. I mean, presumably you're familiar with like how compatibilism came to be with the Stoics, and I certainly don't think it's nonsense. I just don't think it's a part of the free will debate. And the definition being something along the lines of, well, free will is just the ability to select certain states of affairs amongst contingent influence states of affairs that are contingent on prior states that might be necessary or not. And that's like the first bit is appealing to the libertarian who thinks that choice is like absolutely free and not like sort of precedented on any antecedents. So that's like going to make sense to them. But the first part's going to make no sense to determinists who don't think that choice at all exists. They think it's some illusionary idea. And then the second part is to appeal to determinists, saying like, well, these people, like these states of affairs are certainly influenced and contingent on some necessary state. That's going to make sense to them. So I find compatibilism just to be a redefining of terms that nobody's really going to agree with on either side of the aisle. But that's just my view. Anyways, man, it's been like a nice talk. I'll let you like put these other guests up. Appreciate you.
Sounds good, man. Nice talking to you. I'm gonna drop you a follow. I want to talk to you again. Yeah. That was interesting. The moon is a hologram. All cheese is. W guest. W guest of yours. Thank you, Jacob. Thanks for the likes. sounds like knowledge would be indexed to an irrational foundation with God. Could you elaborate on that, Tiny? I just got Phil broed, guys. I could recognize about 80% of the isms. What's up, Coco? But I couldn't define half of them. Which I'm okay with admitting. That's why I asked. I told him I'm not familiar with all of those. What's up, Russell? But without that, it's art. So you're saying it's not rational because it's not demonstratable? Maybe my brain just doesn't work right now. Knowledge has no referent? What has no referent? Lord J, I still don't understand how determinism entails lack of agency. If you're a compatibilist, you would believe that some compatibilists would believe that if you internally will something, then it's free, or you could be responsible for it. But if your internal will is like, if you're caused to will something internally because of external factors, I don't see how that works. God has no referent to determine this thing exists. So like God would, so wouldn't God reference himself? Referent. The only way I understand referent is like what a word in a word, like when a word refers to something that is ontological. Like there's no such thing as a dog. We can just, there's a referent that we use the word dog to refer to. How? Well, I think ultimately everything, like even a properly basic belief, has to end somewhere. And since God knows all things, he can refer to himself. So I'm having trouble with this word refer. I don't know why. But in order for someone to reference God, they would only be able to do so in special revelation. Pixel Nomad. If everything is determined, like hard determinism, with or without God, I would say we shouldn't punish anyone for anything. Now, most people, especially the people who talk about this the most, would say that oh, hey, Skits, what's up? Thanks for the share. They would say that, what was I saying? They would say that we shouldn't punish people, but rather we should just lock people up to make society safer, kind of like quarantining a sick person. Good to see you too, Skits. Wouldn't all actions be subject to external factors, regardless of your view on theism? If determinism is true, yes. I think that there's still problems under theism with free will. Like, it's not just a free pass. But I do think epistemologically we can know that we are morally responsible based on special revelation. That would be obviously a different argument. But if determinism is true, then yes, whether God exists or not, all actions would be subject to external factors. No, in the same way that if somebody, I don't even know if you can still say this word on TikTok, the CV 19, I don't know. I wasn't on TikTok during that time, so I don't know how sensitive that word is. But like, if somebody got that and it was, as dangerous as they said, whatever, there's obviously politics and stuff involved in that. I'm not going to go there. But if somebody got a deadly disease and we should quarantine them, but we wouldn't hold them morally responsible for it. So in the same way with the robot, yeah, you could say you should stop them, but you wouldn't be able to assign moral responsibility to it. But here's what gets me is when I hear these people talk about it, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Robert Sapolsky, I think that's how you say his name. They say like, oh, well, we lock people up to prevent them from doing bad things in the future. That gets very hairy very quickly, because what's to say that we can't determine what you're going to do in the future? So we lock you up not based on your past actions, but based on what we think you're going to do in the future. That would kind of follow the same logic, in my opinion, which could be very scary very quickly. We've had a steady 8 viewers on YouTube. Only one person in the chat, Zaina Shabbat. How you doing? If you're actually viewing, go ahead and say hi so I know you're here. It's literally just been stuck at 8 for like this whole time. So I wonder if it's just stuck or if there's actual people watching on YouTube. Because I mean, TikTok's is not looking good for the TikTok. Not looking good. I don't know what's going to happen, but Trump said he's going to save it. We'll see. Or he might. That's the plot of Minority Report. Is that a movie? Okay. Tom Cruise. I'll have to watch this. It's interesting. I don't go live a lot, but I went live when I go live during lunch. I get like 40, 50 people. I went live one time at night with Joel Sedekase. We got like 50 or 60 on average, and then Danny came up and we jumped up to like 120. He brought a lot of people over. I wonder, TikTok's so weird to me. Yeah, I'm gonna give it like 3 or 4 more minutes, see if anybody else wants to come up. I've been shadow banned before, so I kind of know how it looks. Not saying you're wrong, but it doesn't seem that way. Are you saying they're doing it after the ban was upheld? I didn't see your question. Who cares about what, Alan? Like which one's army? I did one. No, that was just on YouTube. Parker and Dean have the effect of politics just not being popular has definitely hurt them a lot. I mean, right before the election, I saw some of the streams they were getting like 40,000 viewers, which is wild. But yeah, I've been seeing them hover around 3,000 or 4,000, right? Yeah. Yeah, who knows what will happen with TikTok, man. Referring to the concept of existence without pointing to existence. Why do we not have more responsibility in atheism for human concept? Well, whether or not morality is objective or subjective, you can't hold somebody morally responsible for things that are completely outside of their control. If they could not have chosen to do otherwise, if an external factor is the reason, the cause of their actions, how can you hold them accountable for it? Whether or not morality is subjective or objective. But yeah, JSJR, I'm not sure I understand. The idea of referring to the concept of existence without pointing to existence. Wouldn't that be true of anything? Like, if I refer to animals without pointing to animals, maybe I'm not understanding. Because like, I don't think that you can do that. I'm going to pull YouTube up on my phone and see if it shows any numbers there. Yeah, it just shows 3 on YouTube. So Streamlabs must have stuck. It only says 3 on there. Does that make sense, Alan? Yeah, like God is not going to point to an authority outside of himself, right? And then with any epistemology, like there has to be a cutoff to where that thing is a properly basic belief, or like there's a point to where you can't go any further. Oh, Slurm sent a tiny diny earlier. I didn't see that. Thanks, Slurms, if you're here. I tried to promote the live. I paid $20 and it was like 70 people came through, but I don't think any of them stayed. It was not worth it. I think the best way to get viewers, other than collaboration, is to go live when you have a video doing well. That seems to work. I'll go 7 more minutes. That'll be an hour and a half in. See if anybody wants to join. Nobody joined with the other link. I tested it. It works. Coco, I see you're still here, if correct. Joel did hit you back on Discord. Did you leave yet? Are you on vacation yet? Oh, cool. Nice. Oh yeah, I think you said you're leaving December 10th, right? Do you think everybody, I mean not everybody, there's going to be some drop off. Like for example, I saw Justin doing a live earlier. It's kind of ironic. I joined as soon as he mentioned my name and how he was going to destroy me in a debate that's not planned yet. But I he was doing like he's doing a YouTube, I don't know if it's YouTube only or YouTube and TikTok stream tomorrow. He's trying to move everybody over to YouTube. He gets good views on YouTube. He gets like maybe a little bit less than TikTok. But I don't know anybody else who really does the same numbers they do on TikTok on YouTube. Who's it? Thinker? That's her name. She gets like 500 to 1,000 on TikTok. She only gets like 50 to 100 on YouTube. But I wonder, with TikTok gone, the people who like live streams. YouTube is just the thing about TikTok. TikTok actually, TikTok is like you can follow people, you can DM them. YouTube isn't as community based, more just passively watching. I was hoping to get more guests up. Last call. If you're an atheist, you want to talk, feel free to request up. Hey Divine, what's up, brother? Hey Divine, are you ever interested in doing a formal debate? You've been running your arguments for a while. They're pretty airtight. On abortion. I don't know if I've actually seen a formal debate on abortion. I've seen Divine your lives obviously, and then I've seen lives like that, but I haven't seen any formal one. I know they're out there. I just haven't watched them.
Hey,
What's up,
is
Ilka?
it loud on my part?
It is a little loud, but it's cool.
Okay, I'm at work, but I'm about to get off.
Okay.
But yeah, I was gonna talk to you about the I guess I was gonna talk to you about the debate, but like only if you have nothing going on right now.
Yeah, views are low. Nobody's coming up, so let's talk.
Okay, yeah, but like unfortunately there is the TikTok ban, and I guess my plans are basically I'm gonna do the IC keyboard versus wisdom debate. Then my family wants to go on vacation, despite the fact that I kind of want to focus on social media, but it's fine. And then after that, I'm gonna do like Amdir versus somebody, and then I think I'm just gonna move my operations to like YouTube, Twitch, and I don't know. That's probably that. And TikTok's gonna be gone by then.
Yeah. Do you think, are you gonna move over to Lemonade?
It's just not a streaming app. It's like Instagram without the streaming features. But I think that maybe they might add like streaming stuff. But
Yeah,
I mean, like but it's also, I mean, like it's not gonna last long. It's gonna get banned like TikTok because TikTok is doing this dumb thing where like they're getting banned because they're owned by a Chinese company, and Lemonade is owned by ByteDance, which is the same Chinese company that the Supreme Court has problems with.
Yeah.
So like after they ban TikTok, they're just gonna ban Supreme. They're gonna ban Lemonade for the same reasons. So that won't be around for long.
Yeah, I YouTube kind of like the live streaming. It's not the same. Even with like I'm vertical on YouTube right now. It's just not the algorithm's not the same. It's nothing. TikTok really put like discoverability for live streams first. Like there's no other platform that has the discoverability for live streams that TikTok has. That's why the community of live streams is where it is right now. But it has to go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Not many people do it
Yeah.
full time. But I mean, it's not like they're just gonna stop doing it, right? Like even you said you're not just gonna stop.
Yeah. I know like Parker, Dean, and them are gonna have a hard time because like they make money and do it full time.
Getting
Yep. But yeah, I don't know. Like I was kind of hoping to like do it full time. You know, like host debates, debate people. But I don't know. It's either like I'm gonna go to YouTube and Twitch, or I might just like. I was thinking about just like quitting, but like I would study religion on like this. I would just continue to study religion, I guess, because I actually genuinely want to study like Christianity and see if it's something that like I'll believe in, or maybe I should be an atheist. But either way,
yeah. I think it's smart to go to YouTube and Twitch. YouTube in general for formal debates does really well. So like that type of content when you have a formal debate, people show up for that on YouTube. There's already a culture of that on YouTube. But the live streams like this where you just pull guests up, YouTube does the community's not quite there yet. But I'm like it seems like the majority of people know about YouTube in like the vertical live streams. But I think there's still hope there. Oh. Mob, are you still here? You want to explain why it's a silly claim?
oh, did you hear any of that?
No, you were paused.
Oh, but go ahead.
No, what were you saying?
Oh no, I was just gonna say like I'm either gonna use like a program and like use it to invite guests and then broadcast the live to like Twitch and YouTube, or I might just tell people to join my Discord if they want to like debate me
Yeah.
or debate, and then like I could just record the Discord call or Discord room and like broadcast that to YouTube or whatever.
Because there's like a big debate community on Discord and like Clubhouse and stuff still, right?
Yeah, I was gonna do Clubhouse, but that's just like audio. It's not like
Yeah.
any like visual or anything.
So like
So it
if
kinda
you
sucks.
see on my stream it says join.wifigospel.com to join as a guest. That's through
Yeah.
Streamlabs. And it works pretty good.
Oh, okay, that's what I was gonna do because I use Streamlabs.
Yeah. So I paid for the ultra version and it comes with something called Collab Cam.
Yeah,
And then like you can even put the camera on and stuff. And in this way, like some people don't have enough followers on TikTok to like come up. So even for that,
yeah.
I tell people if they don't have enough followers, they can just come up that way. But I just play the audio because I'm afraid of people's cameras sometimes.
Okay. So yeah, for me, that would be the move. I guess. Like, I'm glad that like you're doing it, so like I know that it works. I'll probably like I used to pay for Ultra too, so I'll just continue to pay for that,
Yeah,
and then bring people up that way. Yeah, and then multi-stream it to multiple platforms. So I guess I could continue my work that way. I was like really bummed though like when I found out TikTok was getting banned, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna give up because like that's like 2 years flushed down the drain, and like all my followers and all the work I did.
Yeah, because like you finally built a community, you know other creators, you have an audience. It's tough. It's definitely disheartening. Hopefully, everybody kind of finds each other on another platform.
Say it again.
I was saying just like it's disheartening because you build a community and you start to get to know people and you build an audience. And then I think though that we'll probably all find each other on another platform. It's
Yeah,
tough because like there's not a platform identical to TikTok. Like even YouTube has the infrastructure for the live streams, but they don't have that community aspect that TikTok has. Like you can't DM people on YouTube. You can't really follow
yeah,
each other. You can subscribe, but like you can't. It's not like you don't even know if somebody subscribes to you or not once you have a certain amount of
yeah.
subscribers.
And you can't like send, yeah, and like, yeah, you already said the DM thing. I send messages to every single one of my followers, like a
Okay.
quick opener,
Yeah, I
and
remember.
talk to each one of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Katrina.
But yeah, I guess like I don't know. That'll be the move. I guess like TikTok and then Streamlabs.
Yeah. Um, X X is interesting. X has the community aspect, but
Yeah.
they don't have the discoverability with the lives. Like I was looking on the app the other day. There's no place. There's spaces, but that's different. That's like Clubhouse. There's no place to go where it's like these are the live streams. If X did that, I guarantee you TikTok the community would go over there.
I mean, I quit X and I started using like Bluebird because people don't like Elon Musk
Uh,
and his Donald Trump affiliations.
yeah. But people don't like him that much to where they won't use X.
Yeah, people deleted their X and went to Bluebird. I think.
Okay, I was unaware of that. I didn't use Twitter and I got back on after Elon bought it because I started like just getting news from there and stuff.
Yeah. Also, Bluebird is made by all the Twitter employees that Elon Musk fired when he bought Twitter.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But yeah, it sucks. Our government sucks.
Yeah, it's even Trump on the issue, like he was like leading the charge to ban TikTok and then he got a bunch of views on it and helped him win the presidency and now he's like I might save it. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah.
He got like a few 100 million views right before the election on there, right?
On TikTok,
Yeah.
he might. I don't even follow his page. I have to go check it out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did like some good numbers right before the election because he like made a comeback on X and all the other social media platforms because like he wasn't like really trying to come back because he made so much money with his own social media thing.
Yeah. But I don't know if he saves TikTok, then like I don't know, like Donald Trump will earn maybe a point in my book, but I don't think I'd vote for him.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore. He won't be running again. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's I'd be super surprised if he saved it at this point. Like what he would have to what would he even have to do? How would he even save it?
I think he would just overturn the judgment of the Supreme Court,
He has the
but
authority to do that.
I'm not sure. I don't even know how he would do that, to be honest.
Yeah. Like it's not like it was
But
an executive order that he can just over.
yeah, it was kind of like a maybe it was a bill that they passed or like a law that they passed. I don't even know.
Yeah, Congress. It went through Congress.
Oh yeah. I think it
Yeah.
was like Congress.
And then it went through the appeals all the way up to the Supreme. No, not the Supreme Court, but a federal court. So can it?
Yeah.
Oh, it can still go to the Supreme Court though. No.
Yeah, so like TikTok could decide to like take it up to the Supreme Court and see what they say, and it'll buy them some time, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like here they did say from a representative said they are going to seek review by the U.S. Supreme Court, and they're going to seek an injunction to buy them time.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they make a ton of money in the U.S. Or maybe not a ton of money, but they have plans to make a ton of money in the U.S. I don't know
Yeah.
what their revenue looks like.
But yeah, it is what it is. I'll probably have to go to finish off my shift, but
Yeah,
I'll
sounds
talk to
good,
you
man.
later though.
All right. Have a good one, brother.
See you around.
Sorry for the audio on that, guys. I know it was loud, but I wanted to talk to Coco. Katrina was in here. She said, I had knowledge of morals when I was an atheist. Yeah. The argument is that under atheism, you cannot have knowledge or moral responsibility. Maybe you read it as of. Oh. Well, thanks for sticking around, guys. I don't know. I guess we just didn't get pushed out tonight. There's only like up to 10 people in here at once. My last stream, it was like 1,500 people that came through. We'll try again Monday night. I'm going live with Joel Sedicase again on Monday night. Then I have a debate with Jeff for Truth on Saturday at 1 p.m. on Patrina's channel. We'll be debating did the Romans create Christianity as a psyop, basically. That'll be interesting. And then Coco's working on a debate. I don't know. He said me and Umdir would have a debate, but I don't know. Thanks for the follow, Reggie. All right. Have a good night, everybody. I appreciate you all.